Hi there, I'm Jenny Yoder. I suppose you want to know who I am and why I'm doing this. The name of my company is Healing Grounds, but this particular movement within my company is called Raising Parents for Children. I had been married for about 12 years and I decided to divorce my husband at the time. I felt like the life was being sucked out of me, and I didn't know why at that time, but I know why now, and it took me about 3 years to figure out why. We divorced in 2012, and our two boys were 6 and 9 at the time. I'm not going to go into a lot of the details. There were decisions that I made. I wasn't in my right mind, even though I wasn't a bad mother. I was also switching jobs at the same time, so I knew that I needed to provide stability for our children. And systematically over the course of about 3 or 4 years, I was legally and systematically alienated from my children. I didn't really understand what was happening at first. I had never been through divorce, so I just assumed that much of it was just natural divorce pain. I was also in a lot of pain from the trauma that I had been through, so I didn't even know how to help my children. And many of you may be in that same situation. I could barely even see through my own pain, let alone see my children's pain. But they would slowly, it started immediately, but it wasn't as aggressive at first. And after about 3 or 4 years, I felt like I was going crazy most days. I felt like a desperate mother, and I'm sure many of you have felt like a desperate mother. All you want is to have your children back in your arms, and all you want is for them to love you the way that they did before. I know what that's like, and that's where I was. So after about 3 or 4 years, they kept pushing and pushing, and so I kept reducing the parenting time, and that was only because the damage that I was seeing being done to my children was becoming worse and worse. They were becoming abusive toward me too, and many of you have most likely had that happen as well. And I'm sorry that you're going through this. But I found God during this process. It wasn't necessarily because of this. It was more that I was becoming more open to it, and I know God was pursuing me, and I was consuming books on psychology and learning how my mind works, but also how the mind of men work. And then I was also learning a lot about narcissism and parental alienation. So through that process, God gave me many visions. He gave me wisdom. He directed me. He corrected me. It's just been an amazing process. And so for over 10 years now, I've been in that process. My children are now 19 and 17. And they have just opened up just within the last few months. They've opened up to a little bit of communication with me, which has been amazing. It's just, I can't stress enough just to hang in there, regardless of your situation. Don't ever give up on a relationship with your children. That doesn't mean that there needs to be a physical connection at all times, because sometimes that's just not safe depending on the circumstances. But don't ever give up on that emotional connection. I've had many people tell me that you cannot break that biological connection, and I'm sure that there's some truth to that, because it's most likely spiritual as well. So I didn't ever give that up. I would always stay in contact, even if it was just a little bit. They usually didn't answer my calls or return texts. but I would mail them letters at times. And I've gotten some results, and I have hope. So that's my story, and I can help you through this same type of pain. I am at a different point in the journey than you are, I'm sure. I'd love to hear your story, and we can work through it together. So thank you for listening.